American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defined, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar has been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves, even if the beat stops my soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday with the fellas. Little sports nonsense and whiskey. How we doing, Robert, Pinky?
It's draft week, so you know it's an exciting time for everyone, and that's the best part.
It's our third annual sports nonsense and whiskey mock draft.
My second.
It is time. This is my time, my man. This is my happiest time of year. I love it. This is my Super Bowl. I'm super, super excited for this draft because don't know what anybody's going to do. Nothing. Nobody's got any clue.
Might get a whole lot more interesting than we originally planned. That is for sure.
I'm hearing it might be a lot of chalk, but we'll see. We'll see. You want to lay out the ground rules?
A lot of rumors of movement. Coming back in the first round, I just saw a news flash that the Bears and Patriots have a tentative deal at 4, provided certain people are still on the board when 4 comes around, because it sounds like the Bears want to move up to get Genty.
The Bears.
So if the Patriots get to 4 and Carter and Hunter are off the board, we might see the Bears move up and grab Genty at 4. Who knows? Who knows? The Browns should move off at 2 and they should go down. Teams should be moving back into the bottom of the first for that 5th-year option on a quarterback potentially. There's a lot of things that could happen. We think it's going to be a lot of chalk. Continue that March Madness, chalk on over and move forward. But man, the NFL draft is unpredictable, and that's the beauty of it. So we are very excited to see what happens, and we're always excited to bring you our thoughts, opinions, research, data analysis, whatever you want to call it, and provide you with what we feel a mock draft should look like. And we say it every year. We'll continue to say this is not what we think the teams are going to do. This is not us predicting the first round like everybody else and their mom tries to do with their mock drafts. This is us saying, if we're the GM of this team and this is where the board sits, this is what we're going to do as the GM of this team to better the team by our standards or our beliefs. We don't do trades because that's a whole nother ball of wax that can get so convoluted it's impossible to follow. So when we draft and we do our mocks, we do it exactly as the board sits. The day we do the draft, there has been no trades this year. Everybody has their own pick as of right now. This is the latest in a modern era draft that has ever happened. For every team to still own their first round pick this close to the draft is a first for the NFL. So that in and of itself makes the draft very interesting, because if everybody does go chalk and they stay where they're at and we don't get a lot of movement, what are guys looking at as the board falls? And are you just taking best available? Are you taking biggest need? What are you going to do? Because while there may not be that high-end talent, those generational players necessarily that everybody sees in this draft, we've said for last 6 months or so, this draft is loaded with a lot of talent that you can put on your football team and start and contribute. So you've got a lot of guys that we think can be, your 8 to 10 year starters contributing for a team for a good chunk of time. You may not have a lot of Hall of Famers or Pro Bowlers per se, but you've got a lot of quality NFL starters.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of good value, a lot of depth pieces in this draft. So should be a lot of fun. Thank you for laying down the ground rules, Caleb, letting folks know what to expect. Robert?
I'll be your moderator this evening.
Kick us off, my man.
All right, so Tennessee Titans. Caleb, I believe you have first pick. Who are we selecting, my good sir?
Well, unfortunately, the first pick this year is, by all accounts, a foregone conclusion. I'm not going to mess with fire here, just because it seems like it's so set in stone. I personally think Shador is the best quarterback in this draft, and that's who I believe should go number one. But like I said, it is pretty much, by all accounts, stuck in stone. So where we would normally do what we think the team should do, I think Tennessee needs a quarterback. Cam Ward seems to be the guy they like more, so they're going with Cam Ward. I will say this, and I'm going to pull this up real quick here, Pinky, because I think you'll really enjoy this. Pinky and I have both said we think Shador's the best quarterback in this league. And that's Pinky's a Miami guy. So this is no hate towards Cam Ward. Pinky loves Cam Ward. But there is, let's see if I can even find it. I'm not going to be able to find it. Dang it. Apologies, guys. But basically, the last 3 drafts, you want the number 2 guy. Bryce Young went, CJ Stroud second. Probably wanted CJ Stroud.
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels.
Thank you. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels last year. A lot of people are saying you probably wanted Jaden Daniels. 3 years ago, Brock Purdy. And he went, Mr. Irrelevant style. So there's a trend that's been building that might hold some weight as of now, that you don't want the first quarterback off the board. That teams have a tendency to misevaluate the top quarterback on the board.
Is this considered a soon-to-be NFL curse, I wonder?
Oh, boy, that'd be an interesting, you got the Madden curse. You don't want to be on the cover there. You don't want to be the first quarterback off the board. I don't know. I don't know where this is heading, but I found it interesting that we start to see this trend developing, and this year there is a lot of conversation between the top quarterback in people's eyes and who's next. And Shador's fallen so far that people are talking Jackson Dart maybe over him now. So personal opinion, I would take Shador, but I'm not going to screw up everything because we kind of already know the first pick is already set. So Cam Ward, throw him on the board.
There's 2 guys that I respect their opinions. Mel Kiper, I do respect his opinion. I might not always agree. He has Shador as the number 1 quarterback. And Joel Klatt, also a guy I respect, might not agree on everything. He has Shador as the best quarterback as well. So there are some guys that actually think Shador is the better quarterback than Cam Ward. So we shall see. It'll be interesting to see how he looks in a Titans uniform.
So now the second pick goes to you, Pinky, and for the Cleveland Browns, they are going with.
I don't have my glasses on, Robert, and these things are so small. You're gonna have to lead me in, baby.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's Cleveland though.
Yes, there we go. The Browns.
That's better. Thank you, my friend. I've got these old eyes.
Hey,
these lion
you should
eyes.
Probably go get those glasses you were just talking about, but I'm just
saying.
He
doesn't know who he's taking anyways, and he has to actually see the board to decide.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you already know that you've been running mock simulators for the last freaking 6 weeks.
I packed my glasses already, okay, guys? They're in my bag. They're packed.
This is a conversation for a different day, but moving on.
Cleveland Browns
are on the clock.
We digest.
Draft day. They are going to take Travis Hunter because why not take a guy who can impact both sides of the ball, is a unicorn, is being compared to the Ohtani of the NFL, which would be amazing, right? To see a guy play offense at a high level and defense at a high level really hasn't been done probably since, the 50s when they played both ways. Dion did quite a bit, but even in his best season, I think he had like 20, 30 catches, like not a lot. Like it wasn't a lot of volume to be like, oh my God, he was so impactful on offense. So I'm excited to see what Travis Hunter does. Kind of sad he's going to Cleveland because, again, that's where careers go to die right now. Poor Pinky Jr. He's a Cleveland Browns fan. He has to live with it every year. Travis Hunter to the Browns. Again, a lot of chalk so far.
Which brings us to the Giants. Caleb, who are we going with?
Well, here's the thing.
Ooh.
The
Everybody
current
pull up a
GM should
chair.
no longer have a job, and yet he's still here drafting for this team.
His son even was like, "I'll disown you."
Yeah,
I would disown him.
I believe the head coach is good in Dayball. I'm torn though. He hasn't shown much the last 2 years. The defense, by all accounts, has a lot of talent on it. Offense, a lot left to be desired. As New York, I don't think there's a question here on what you should do. And I think you get a steal by somebody dropping here from 1 down to 3. I don't care that you signed Russ and Jameis Winston, because the guy you're about to draft is better than both of them and can be a 15-plus year starter in a market that he was made for. He was groomed for. He was raised to be a part of and have no issues in it. And that is Shedeur Sanders with the New York Giants and Malik Neighbors and Brian Daboll, and seeing what that offense can finally do when you have somebody behind center that can actually complete a pass when the play is designed to throw it.
Can you
So Shedeur
imagine Malik
Sanders?
Neighbors actually getting balls thrown to him versus
Instead of at his
5
feet.
yards away?
Shedeur is accurate. He will stand in the pocket and take hits when needed. I believe he's a quick learner. He's played in a couple different systems already, and it never seemed to faze him. I am blown away by people wanting to downgrade him as much as they have over the last 3 months. I don't see the negatives that people talk about, and it seems to be the biggest negatives are his personality and his character and his attitude, all of which I don't see any issues with. I see an outstanding young man who never gets himself in trouble and speaks his mind when he's asked. Doesn't speak out of turn, doesn't rub stuff in people's faces, confident, but people want to call it cocky and arrogant.
I think
Give me
your
Sanders in New York all day and let's roll.
I think your greatest argument, Caleb, and again, we don't see eye to eye all the time, but your greatest argument is if you put him on an SEC team behind those O-lines with a really good running game, what does he do? I mean, he put up pretty damn good numbers at Colorado, getting smashed, having no running game, and having, decent receivers. Those guys weren't like awful, but they weren't amazing. He didn't have no Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. He didn't have those guys.
He had Travis
Right.
Hunter.
He had Travis Hunter, but that's it. Like for the most part, So I think Sanders is gonna be really good. I do think he's one of those quarterbacks we talk about. I don't think he's elite in any one area besides his accuracy, but I think he does need to be protected. For him to shine, you have to take care of him.
I mean, any quarterback has to be protected to shine. Like that, any quarterback. There's not one quarterback in the history of the NFL that shined without being protected. And I'll take it a step further, and people will probably hate this, and they'll probably bash the hell out of me for this, and I really don't care. I see a whole lot of similarities between Shedeur Sanders and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady wasn't the most athletic. He didn't have the strongest arm. He had 0 foot speed. And yet he went on to become the greatest quarterback in NFL history because he knew where to throw the ball, when to throw the ball, and he threw it accurately. Shedeur's pretty good at that already. Now, I'm not trying to say he's going to be Tom Brady, but if you want to talk about the things that are usually successful for the quarterback when they first enter the NFL, those are the things Shedeur's best at. Guys with cannons don't usually succeed right away. Guys who run all over the place don't usually succeed right away. Guys who are accurate and can stand in the pocket and throw the ball are usually successful right away.
Cheers.
Patriots on the clock.
Shedeur, Patriots, Pinky with the fourth pick of the 2025 draft.
When Caleb does curveballs like that, and I love it, that makes the Patriots sit there and go, holy shit. Even though they're only fourth, I'm pretty sure they didn't see any scenario where Abdul Carter is sitting on the board, a true blue chip player one of the guys that people feel is like a can't miss. Like at the very least, he maybe isn't a Hall of Fame player when he's done, but he should at least hit a couple Pro Bowls. Abdul Carter to the Patriots would be a Patriots fan's wet dream. They're still going to have to solve some of their O-line issues, which I feel like if Abdul Carter is not on the board, that's where they go. But when he's on the board, like you got to run the card up there and be like, yes, we will take him and we will be happy because their defense isn't very good either. And Mike Vrabel is a defensive guy who's going to want to build that up as well. So Abdul Carter, the Patriots fans rejoice. All of us hate it. We hate the Patriots. We hate this pick. And we're going to hate it for many years later if he turns into Micah Parsons 2.0.
There's a lot of talk that could very well be his floor, not just ceiling, his floor. Could be that Micah Parsons area. So that would be a steal at 4 if he dropped there for sure.
Which, all right, now that rolls us into the 5th pick of the draft this year, Jacksonville Jaguars. Caleb, your selection.
I'm blown away at the idea that this is going to be a defensive pick. This is not a defensive game in the modern NFL anymore. Yes, defense can help. Yes, that old saying, defense wins championships. I don't buy into that. I've talked in great length over the years on why I don't believe in that.
We should ask Joe Burrow. I'm sorry.
I don't think they missed the playoffs because of their defense last year. I know that's the easy one for everybody to jump on, but I think there are bigger issues there from the start of the season on the offensive side that they struggled to score and turn the ball over that were issues. But I digress. That offensive line is still trash. And if you have a generational, what you believe to be, quarterback on your team that you took first overall and has struggled since day one in the NFL because of coaching and offensive line issues, now you bring in an offensive coach that you believe can finally help him, and you're going to not address the offensive line that's still an issue? It makes zero sense to me. Let's let the quarterback that we think can be one of the best in the game finally have an opportunity to show that. Let's give him some protection. We have guys that we believe can be weapons on the outside and in the backfield. Let's see if that's true. So I'm going to take what I believe is the best offensive lineman in the draft right now, and that's Will Campbell. And I'm going to make sure that my offensive line is one of the best in the league. And if they can no longer protect my quarterback or my quarterback does not play well behind a good offensive line, then I know what my real issues are and I'm going to move along, right? They've spent so much draft capital on the defensive side of the ball the last couple of years that if those guys aren't willing to step up in year 3 or 4, year 2, whatever it is, when they were high draft picks, then you messed up there too and you know your answers as well. Getting one defensive lineman, which Mason Graham would be a great pick here as well, but getting one defensive lineman, if you think that's going to solve the issues that you had on the offensive side of the ball last year, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And a new coach isn't going to be able to completely overhaul and fix an offensive line that was bad. Play calling helps, right? It helps a lot.
Do you know who loves this pick so much? Loves it. His name's Brian Thomas Jr. Loves this pick. This dude was a stud with a crappy O-line. You give T-Law some time to find him, and Brian Thomas would be the number 1 receiver in this draft, like not even a question.
Take it a step further. They got some studs in their backfield that just need a little bit of room to get going, and they can roll.
ETN and Bigsby can do some things. So I love it.
Let's give the guys space. Let's give them a little bit of time finally. And what I believe is a can't-miss prospect on the offensive line. We're not reaching for someone who had a great pro day or an underwear Olympics gold medal. We're talking about a dude who balled out in the SEC as the best lineman.
Absolutely. I love this pick, Caleb. I love this pick. Cheers to you, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers to you.
All right. The Raiders, Pinky. Not your favorite team, but who we going with?
Not my favorite team, but, and I think this is a curveball for some people, I do think they would love Mason Graham to pair up with Christian Wilkins. They've already got Tyree Smith. They've got Max Crosby. They've got Spillane. Or is it Spillane? I think he's the inside backer. They've got an outside backer that does some good job with pressure as well. Well, what's the best way to generate pressure when you've got good edges? Force the quarterback out of the middle and to the sides, right? So Mason Graham can do that. They're also been weak against the run. He would help with that as well. This would be great for them. Pete Carroll's a defensive guy. I see Genty there. I know that hype's been on Genty. My thinking here is I do think Chip Kelly has already told him we want to get Trayvon Henderson or Quinshon Judkins. He knows those two guys. He knows how to use them. And if I can get a top elite defensive player to help my defense, which hasn't been great, I can do that. And then I can do really good things with a running back in the second round. So Mason Graham, this should be a really good fit for the Raiders. And the Raiders, again, are I believe, are going to start making really good, educated draft picks moving forward because Spytek and Brady and Pete Carroll are all going to be together making really good decisions, which sucks because I like it when the Raiders suck, right? That's always, as a Broncos fan, we love it when the Raiders suck. I don't think the Raiders are going to be pretty good going forward, and they're going to be a tough team, and we're going to have some fun battles. So Mason Graham to the Raiders.
If they don't go O-line or D-line here, I will be amazed. Absolutely amazed. Because there's still a couple offensive linemen here that are well within the top 5 range. And
yeah, it was Mimbu or Mason Graham, and I just felt like Mason Graham paired up with Christian Wilkins. It's just too good to not do it.
I mean, you give Crosby the opportunity to have single coverage at all during a game, and you're already winning. So It's by no means a bad pick at all.
I hate that because Max Crosby. I hate that Max Crosby's a Raider because I love that dude. He's amazing.
All right, so that now takes us to the Jets, Caleb, who are in every way needing something.
The Jets are slightly torn because we know our strength next year is going to be dominating the line of scrimmage and running the ball. And we believe Justin Fields still has room to grow. We have a receiver he can get the ball to. We have some backs he can get the ball to out of the backfield. But that's all we've got, really. So do we add a weapon for him? Or do we shore up the offensive line even more? We're going to try to do 2 for 1 right now and give him a weapon and an opportunity to shore up the line, and we'll go lineman later. I've been saying this for a while. I've taken Warren as high as 4 in some of our mock drafts with the Patriots. I think Tyler Warren is a stud. I think too many people in the NFL refuse to run 2 tight end personnel. I have no idea why. But when you have a weapon like Tyler Warren who can go out and run any route, he can come out of the backfield in the Wildcat, he can run the ball, and he can block on the line. I think it's exactly what the Jets need at this point to add a little bit of dynamic to that offense with what will be a run-heavy game and give Justin Fields another opportunity for an outlet in the passing game and someone who can also stand on the line, in line, and block at a high level when needed. Those are rare things to find in the modern game. A guy who can do all. Tyler Warren can do all, and I think the Jets get a steal there at 7.
I love that. I don't think offensive lineman or Tyler Warren, either one works great here. So that's a good idea. This Tyler Warren, again, just will help Justin Fields a lot. Justin Fields actually had a pretty good relationship with Cole Kmet in Chicago, and he had a pretty good he was pretty good the first couple games he played in Pittsburgh with Freiermuth. So getting him a guy he can rely on would be a great idea. Good job, Caleb.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Pinky, now that takes us to the Panthers.
All right, so this might be that first spot. Based on how the draft has fallen right now, I feel like this would be the first spot that Carolina starts getting some phone calls. If anybody wants Genty, this is the first person you're calling because you're scared that Chicago wants him. So I think the Panthers would look at trading out. Where they are at, they need everything. They need everything. And they really need a wide receiver. And I really like the idea of giving Bryce Young a guy that's got a pretty good catch radius. And I hate going receiver that this early, but Tedero McMillan would be the guy I would choose because I want to give Bryce Young someone to actually get the ball to on a regular basis to pair with Xavier Legette, who actually had a really good season last year as well. But Adam Thielen's not going to be able to do it forever. He's been kind of the steady Betty for Bryce Young. We need a guy that, again, hey, Bryce, just get the ball near me. I'm going to go get it. And I think he could do that for them. There's some defenders that will look good here. Again, you could probably still do offensive line. But I feel like the Panthers really need another weapon to pair up with Bryce Young and Xavier Legette. So Tedero McMillan, T-Mac.
Boom.
I don't hate
All
that.
right.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it, given the fact that they played some good ball down the stretch, actually, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Dude, they had the Chiefs sweating.
Canales and Bryce Young figured it out those last 4 or 5 games of the year, and Bryce Young looked like a number 1 pick. He was not playing bad by any means. So giving him another weapon, don't hate. Offensive line, I think you could move on from that, Pinky, because they had a solid running game last year, and at the end of the season, Young was able to find pockets within the pocket to sit and throw the ball. So offensive line might not be as bad as everybody originally thought it was. Adding the weapon, that's very interesting.
His first game back from injury was against the Broncos, and I was at that game, and I was like, wow, like the Broncos got a lot of good pressure on him, and he kept standing in the pocket, and he was delivering balls on time, and that's the first time I went, that's the number 1 pick. That's the guy they drafted.
Yep.
He played. They still lost by a good amount. Bo Nix had a great game, but he showed out, and he showed me that game that, you know what, this dude's got something. So let's go, Bryce.
I like it.
We got the Saints up next.
I feel like the Saints are arguably the biggest wild card in the first round. I think they would love for Shador to fall to us because we could snatch him up at 9 and move right along. Spencer Rattler showed a few moments of potential, showed a lot of moments that we can move on from. We're good without Derek Carr now. You want to do your injury, wait till now, blah, blah, blah. Whether the team knew about it or not, it's a mess, and his career is done. You either ride with Spencer Rattler and give him some weapons to see what finally happens, or you grab Shador if he falls. Shador didn't fall.
Can I make 1 point, Caleb?
Yeah.
Ride with Spencer Rattler, and what's most likely going to happen next year?
If you get the first overall pick, you could get some New Orleans royalty in there for yourself, potentially. Now, here's the kicker, Pinky. Arch Manning comes from a family that's very savvy within the football business world. Arch Manning could very easily go back for his senior year at Texas and avoid whoever's sitting at the top of the draft. I don't know if the Saints are an organization right now that the Mannings would want him playing for. Regardless of the legacy, I'm not sure that they would be cool with that dynamic. So, hard to say. But given all things, where they're at currently, I think the Saints have some weapons. Shaheed and Olave can both play. Johnson is not a bad tight end. Dude's crazy athletic. Their backfield with Kamara healthy might be the best back in the league. Week to week. Really good. Their defense always seems to show up somehow. They'll have a down year or two, but for the most part, they're solid. I got to start looking trenches then, Pinky. I got to go trenches. I got to stick with what we know and love, given all the chaos surrounding what the Saints can do and how dismal they are right now. Bringing in a crazy athletic tackle, hard to pass up. Give me Mimbu, and at least we know we can start building our line for whoever we can get back there at some point.
Caleb, would you say that the Saints are arguably, with the Titans, like the most meh team in the league right now? Like, there's really, if you're a Saints fan, how excited are you? Right?
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something there, Pinky, because I think about other teams, like you think about like even the Indianapolis Colts. Like there's still things to get excited about there. Maybe you're not thrilled, but like you still have Anthony Richardson who there's potential there for him to be great, right? Maybe he never will show it and you move on anyways, but at least you still have that. You still got Jonathan Taylor. You've got a really good defense. You've got some offensive weapons. So if Richardson isn't playing well, you throw in the backup that you brought in and you hope he can play better and you move along. There's still some things there in Indy. You start thinking about the Saints, man, you're right. Like you're drafting 9th, so you're not getting one of the flashy guys at the top. If the quarterback goes early, if Shador is the guy you want and he goes early, now you're SOL there. You still get a really good quality player here, regardless of who you select, but it doesn't move the needle in the same way that someone else could, and it still leaves you with a lot of holes that you have to fill. I mean, and they're in cap hell still, right? This is the last year, I believe, if I'm correct. But they're going to have the worst cap situation in the league this year.
Caleb, this is the best pick possible. Great job. I hate saying this. Like, I'm having to give you, like, your flowers every pick because this is actually working out really well. Who retired last week?
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan Ramczyk retired last week. So this matches up with one of the best players on the board as well as a really big need. Awesome job.
Thank you, sir.
So, the Bears, Pinky, who we getting?
Man, this is really tough. I do think the Bears need an edge rusher. And there's a couple edge rushers that I think would be ones that they would look at. I don't know with Ben Johnson, I don't know what he's going to prioritize. If I had to put my finger on it, I would say DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson did not get the job done last season. But I believe Caleb Williams is going to look a whole lot better if Ashton Genty's in the backfield. And I think they would have a hard time passing on Genty, which is why, like I mentioned earlier, the Panthers are a prime trade candidate. The Saints are a prime trade candidate because they're right in front of the Bears. And both of those teams have needs. Both of those teams need some picks. They need cheap labor, right? They're in Panthers have spent a lot of money. Saints are in salary cap hell. They could use some talent. So Genty looks great. I hate seeing Genty go to the Bears. I'd love to get in range where the Broncos could trade up and get him. But this just makes a lot of sense, so it's hard not to do it.
You're absolutely right, Pinky. And I'll take it a step further on two sides of the coin for you. What have the Bears spent a ton of draft capital on over the last couple of years?
O-line.
Defensive side of the ball.
Well, that too.
Defensive side of the ball. And a little bit of O-line. But they went O-line later in the rounds instead of early in the rounds and spent their early draft capital on the defense. Those boys better start showing up. Right now, I want to see if my number one quarterback can ball. And what have I always said about cornerbacks and running backs, Pinky, in the draft?
Cornerbacks and running backs?
Yep.
You can find them anywhere.
No, that's not where I was going. I was going with the luxury pick. They're a luxury pick. You only take those guys if you feel like you've got everything else handled. If you're ready to take that next jump. People don't want to hear it, man, but Caleb Williams played better than what a lot of people want to give him credit for last year, given that insane situation with the coaching staff and everything else. You add a little bit more firepower to that offense. Look what Saquon did for Philly. Look what Jacobs did for the Packers. they matter.
They're key pieces to the puzzle.
Absolutely. You can get some more offensive linemen later in the draft. I know that's what the Bears have been doing, and it hasn't necessarily played out the way they wanted it to. They invested some money in the offensive line as well, though. So you need to start trusting your evaluations there a little bit. Add the luxury piece right now and see if that's what's going to take you over the edge. If it isn't, the lucky thing here is you've got a young wide receiver who could turn into your wide receiver one in the next couple of years. You've got your quarterback, and you'd have your young running back, all on rookie salaries. So if you have to dip back into the draft next year and go offensive line to shore it up again, you can, and you're still within a window. Guys like Ashton Genty and where you're picking don't come around all that often, and it is a need, like Pinky said.
All right, then. So that takes us to the 49ers, Caleb. Who's next?
As crazy as this sounds, the 49ers need everything. They don't seem to be sold on Brock Purdy because they haven't given him a deal yet. Maybe they want to dip back into the quarterback market and run it back on a rookie salary. I don't think they will. There's a lot of running backs in this draft. I think they're talented enough to go this early, but you've still got CMC and you've got rookie Garendo. You could use a wide receiver. I don't think Ayuk's all that. You moved on from Deebo Samuel. You could use a tight end. Kittle's getting a little older. He's a little bit injury prone. You just lost a couple key pieces on the defensive side that you could start replacing as well. You start looking at San Francisco, and I feel like they're going to be competitive, but they do have a lot of holes they need to fill. What had San Francisco rolling when they were looking like Super Bowl contenders that could win? They had an offensive line that was going to maul everyone and anyone. They've lost some of those key pieces here in the last couple of years. I think they're going to start replenishing that again. Kelvin Banks, I believe, is a stud and a beast. And San Francisco will be thrilled to add him to our roster come this summer when training camp opens. So, Calvin Banks, you come on and enjoy a little California Northern style.
Say that name one more time. I lost
Number
it. Sorry.
14, good sir, Calvin Banks Jr. out of Texas.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
We're going to start building that O-line again and start dominating the line of scrimmage like we always have.
All right, Cowboys winning the Super Bowl 2025. I'm just kidding. Anyway, the 12th pick is to the Cowboys.
Don't you let our producer hear that, man. Damn.
He would laugh too. What do you mean? He's accepted it. He's a real. He is an understanding fan. That it's going nowhere, but he'll still support. It's okay.
Now I wish I hadn't packed my glasses. Can we make that just a little bit bigger?
I just want everybody to know we're at 150% zoom.
Nice.
Okay.
I now have to figure out how to. Jeez, this looks terrible now.
All right, I got it. All right, so I do think the Cowboys have a lot of needs. They've got a lot of needs on defense. But I know Jerry likes to make a splash, and it's very obvious.
What?
There is nothing next to CeeDee Lamb. Nothing. They let Brandon Cooks walk. He's not there anymore. They need another playmaker. Matthew Golden for the Cowboys. Let's go. Let's go. I don't hate this myself, but
for me, this would be the first true surprise of the draft. I know I took Shador at 3, but I don't think that many people would be surprised if New York took a quarterback. Dallas taking a wide receiver at 12.
The last 4 mock drafts I've watched from Mel Kiper, all these guys, Cowboys taking a wide receiver has happened multiple times.
Interesting.
So it's not new. I'm not stealing this. I actually am stealing this from other mock drafts I've watched.
I like Golden a lot. I think he could be a steal of the draft depending on where he falls. A lot of crazy potential there. Didn't show a lot of it at Texas, but it is there. And you give him some opportunity at the next level, and he could blow up. Crazy speed, solid hands. Don't know if he's the best route runner, but again, You know, you run some design plays to get him open, and everything changes from there.
His
So
second half of the season is what has him rated as a first-round pick.
and he was injured, got a little bit more healthy. I like the athletic ability and what he could do at the next level. So by no means do I hate the pick. I'm surprised by the pick, especially when linebacker has been one of their biggest needs for years now, and you got a guy like Jalen Walker sitting out there who could be an absolute beast and stud to plug and play there behind Lawrence and Parsons. So,
but he doesn't play inside linebacker; he's outside linebacker.
I know. I understand that. So, you know, again, don't hate the pick. Just surprised.
So the Dolphins.
Another team that feels like it needs everything at this point.
They're a hot dumpster fire is what that is. There's a whole lot of stuff going on.
They've got two wide receivers, so I guess they don't technically need a wide receiver. They don't really have a tight end. They could use one. A-Chain's a running back. He's solid. You got Tua, who's on his feet and healthy, is one of the most accurate passers in the game and can sling it in that Mike McDaniel offense. It never hurts to add weapons on the offensive side of the ball. It never hurts to add to the O-line. Let's protect the concussion-prone quarterback that we have. But that defense has been bad for a minute. And when your defense can't get off the field, it doesn't matter how high-powered your offense is and how quickly they can score.
And who wants out of Miami?
Well, Tyreek Hill has been talking all sorts of noise this offseason, so who knows?
I don't think Cheetah's going anywhere. Who's on the defense that wants out?
Who?
Jalen Ramsey.
Oh, I didn't hear. He wants out?
Yeah.
Well, that only makes this pick even easier than for me where I was already headed, and we're going to take the top cornerback off the board. I know I usually say these are luxury picks, but they don't have a secondary. Like, you need to at least have somebody back there to play. They're D-line, they're linebackers, they're not the worst in the league. They're middle of the road, if you will. We need somebody in the secondary. And to me, this is, and I'm not saying he's Pat Surtain, but it's reminiscent of the draft that the Broncos took Pat Surtain in when he kind of fell down to them unexpectedly right into their laps. They're like, oh, well, I guess we're just going to take the best player on the board who's the best cornerback on the board in a position of need as well. I kind of feel like that's what we're looking at Will Johnson right now. Best player on the board, position of need, best cornerback on the board. I know I contradict myself here when I say it's a pick of, luxury, but based on what the board's sitting here, I don't need an edge rusher right now. You could take one, but I believe the two edge rushers sitting there right now and Stewart and Green are high risk, high reward. I don't think Will Johnson is high risk, high reward. I think he's going to be a solid starter for 10 plus years. So give me the guy that I feel like I know rather than the guys that are question marks. And that's kind of what lead me to contradict myself in this situation, Pinky.
Would you say this is also a spot they would be kind of a trade candidate? Because I feel like a lot of players they might like at 13 will be there at 20 or 21 or 23. Like
possibly. I think the other name that I was looking at here was Derek Harmon, the D tackle out of Oregon. And it was really, do I want to try to put pressure on the front end or put pressure on the back end? And I think Johnson's a more solid prospect than Harmon is. And so, again, that's why I go kind of against my own grain here and go on the back end of the defense rather than the front end. I don't feel good about this pick, though, if I'm Miami. I don't like the way the board shook out. I'm not feeling great about everything. Jalen Walker might be a better pick. But, again, like you said, he's an outside linebacker, not a middle linebacker. He's not going to be most likely the guy on the defense calling the shots. So that lessens his impact of need. So it's kind of all over the place. But, yeah, I mean, Miami trading back here and trying to acquire picks and fill more holes throughout the draft with quality talent like we've talked about this draft has would be the smart play here.
Did Robert fall asleep?
No, I was reading a breaking news thing on my Star Wars. What was the name?
It's already been selected.
Oh, okay, I thought that we
Indianapolis
did
Colts,
that.
you're on the clock.
Okay, I already did it. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't hear another name. So Colts, Pinky, who we going with?
For Indianapolis, I do think they're in a spot where they're not great all over the place. They've got some good pieces here and there. There's a lot of different places they could go. I just feel like if Jalen Walker's still on the board, to pair him up with Latu just makes a lot of sense to have both those guys coming off the edge. I part of me is like they could add Colston Loveland. They do need a tight end, but if they don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball to the tight end, what does that matter? So give me the best pass rusher, or could be the best pass rusher in this draft, in Jalen Walker. And I believe that will be a really good, solid pick for the Colts. And we'll see if they can, there's a couple different tight ends they can grab later.
So that takes us to 15, the Falcons, who are also figuring out a situation.
Lots of situations.
I don't think it's that much of a situation. We're going to go defense. Will Johnson still being on the board here would have been a nice thought, and it could have been something we debated against. Having an edge guy here with two options of guys that could be absolute beasts, also nice. But we've kind of drafted some guys that we believe could do that. We've tried to do that with free agency. None of them have really panned out. So let's go away from that, and let's go in the middle. Let's give our defense somebody who can hopefully pressure up the middle, which is the potential of Harmon out of Oregon, and see if he can actually start moving that line a little bit for the guys we've drafted in the last couple of years to start making some plays on that defensive side of the ball. Our offense should be solid. There's no reason our offense should underperform. We have weapons everywhere. We have a solid O-line. The defense needs some help. You're either getting pressure on the quarterback or you're taking pressure away from the wide receivers. Top cornerback fell. Let's take the second best D tackle on the board and hope we can truly move that line from the inside out. Plus, our coach has a pretty solid defensive mind that can move pieces around if we can do things a little bit differently, and that's what a big body can do in the middle, right, Pinky?
Absolutely, buddy. And they need help all along that line, so I love that. Kind of sad you took Harmon. I feel like he would be – I think the next 5 teams would have loved Harmon still being on the board.
Absolutely.
So that now takes us to the halfway point in this draft, to the Arizona Cardinals. Who are we going with?
Man. Cardinals are in a spot. There's so many different pieces they could use. They definitely need defense. And I'm going to go Mike Green, pass rusher. I believe the Cardinals could use a good corner. Jahade Barron is a good idea here. But I also think Mike Green would be a great idea, and pass rushers always have a higher premium. So you grab the pass rusher. Mike Green, I think, from Marshall. Folks are starting to figure out who he is. A lot of the draft guys are talking about him. He's been moving up boards. I just feel like the guy's got a lot of potential. And, again, if you can rush the quarterback, it doesn't matter what school you came from. What school did Khalil Mack come from, Caleb?
Buffalo.
Buffalo's, not been a powerhouse in football, ever. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It just matters if you have the skills, the size, the technique to get it done. And I think Mike Green will be really awesome here. So Cardinals.
I love that, Pinky. Love that pick. I love the comparison that you brought up as well, because I actually think Khalil Mack is a great comparison for him. Coming from a small school, killing the
Great
combine
movie.
with his measurables, and then people start watching the tape going, oh, yeah, he actually really played. Why was he at Marshall? That's basically what people were saying about Khalil Mack back in the day, and saying, well, small school, small competition, he's not going to be able to translate it. Guess what he did? I think that could be a steal. Mike Green might end up being the best defensive player out of this draft. The
Absolutely.
potential is definitely there. So for the Cardinals at 16, killer.
Awesome, which now takes us to the Bengals for you, Caleb. 17, who we selecting?
I mean, this is easy. We need a tight end. Our boy Joey Burrow hasn't had one to throw to since he came into the NFL. We need that safety blanket. So we're going to go ahead and take Malachi Starks out of Georgia and shore up our defense.
That was the fake out of the century.
Legit. There's a couple edge guys here that look good. Stewart, Malachi Williams out of Georgia. But this isn't a cornerback. This is a safety. I see them very different positions when it comes to picking and luxury and things of that nature. A safety, a true great safety on the back end of your defense. I mean, let's think Earl Thomas, Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, Steve Atwater, Ronnie Lott. The history of that position through the NFL and a true difference maker at that position is gold in the NFL. The ability for that position, if you're a true great, you get to see everything happen from where you're standing. You can call things out, and then you can ball hawk like none other. I think Malachi Starks has a lot of those potential abilities to do those things at a very high level at the next level in the NFL. Yes, they need other pieces, linebacker, D line, cornerback, all of that. I get all of that. But if you can throw a safety in the center of that defense on the back end who can call out things, who knows how to double coverage when the time's right and can be in the right place at the right time and ball hawk when it's needed, that allows that front four, front seven to do things a little bit differently than they were doing in the past. They're going to have to do some more damage on the defense side of the ball throughout the draft. But I think Malachi Starks might be a top 10 talent in this draft. And to get him at 17 and put him on the back end of that defense, I think is a huge get for us in Cincinnati.
Deal.
Love it.
So now the Seahawks, what are we doing? They've been
Oh,
making
dude.
some moves.
I'm predicting right now Caleb is going to cheers this pick. That's how confident I feel right now.
I'm going to hold on to my seat real quick.
I mean, I feel like maybe he will. I hope he will. I do think the
You
Seattle
hype this
Seahawks,
up now, like
they did trade DK Metcalf away, which pretty good deal. They had a second round pick. They allowed the Steelers to sign him to a really big contract, which is probably the right thing to do. He's never been the dominant player they needed him to be. Pretty damn good, but not enough to get that money. I feel like they need a replacement. They need another guy that they could pair up with Jackson Smith named Jigba. And I feel like a former teammate of his would be a great idea. Emeka Egbuka, Steady Betty, come on over to the Seahawks.
oh, son of a bitch.
Oh, no, Caleb. Oh, Robert, what did you do?
I got it. It's okay.
Quit playing
Fix
Star
it.
Wars.
I wasn't hitting
Focus
Star Wars.
on the
this
draft.
this is my mouse issue. Oh wait, nope. It remembered. It's just catching up. Keep talking. It's catching
Kinky,
up.
that's wild.
That's
wild.
I know you're a Luther Burden guy. And I think that the problem I have is I know Luther Burden and JSN kind of play the same role. And that's why I went, hey, let's get a guy who does something a little bit different in Egbuka. So I feel like Egbuka would be a good fit. He's the steady Betty that they need in that offense for Sam Darnold. JSN is the playmaker. Egbuka would be the steady Betty. That's my thinking there.
I mean, are you forgetting they signed Cooper Kupp?
He's not going to be there long. And he plays the slot too. So like again, I still feel like Egbuka on the outside is quite all right. And we don't know how many games he's going to play either. Like the last 3 seasons, he's been injured. So I like Cooper Kupp a lot.
You're not wrong. I like Egbuka. I think he is a solid receiver. I think he'll always be a 2. So pairing him with JSN, who you believe is a true 1, isn't a bad move. I think Burden's a true 1, and I think he's going to be a true 1. So if you have the opportunity to have 2 true 1s on your team, I'm not sure why you would pass that up. But I am more surprised that you went in that direction just in general given that they do have the wide receivers and they do have other positions of need. But at the same time, I think Ibuka, and I say he's going to be a 2. I don't try to say that negatively.
Hey, T. Higgins is a 2. That's all good.
That's what I was just going to say, Pinky. Thank you. Now, I think T. Higgins is a true 1. I don't care what anybody says. I think he can play 1 in any offense in the league. He just happens to play with the best wide receiver in the league, possibly, which makes him look slightly less than.
Robert, do you need help now?
Yeah, because now it took it all out of order when I had paused it and unpaused it. The Patriots had Mason Graham, correct?
Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter.
Will Campbell.
Come on.
So we'll see. I think Ibuka can be really, really good. I don't think he's quite on the T. Higgins level as a true 1 on his own or a 1A. I think he is a 2.
Mason Graham here.
But
Tyler Warren.
Yep.
Crazy good. Crazy. I think he is a potential to be a 1, Pinky, in the sense that I think Christian Kirk had potential to be a 1. In the sense that if you have a bunch of 2s, you could work out somebody to be your 1.
Mimbu.
I think he's better than Christian Kirk, though. So,
Ashton Genty.
Solid. Surprising. That's 2. That's 2 now you've gone that I was not expecting from you.
Banks. Matthew Golden. Will Johnson. Jalen Walker.
Harmon.
Yeah, Harmon.
Green.
Mike Green. Starks. Ibuka.
Now you got to scroll just a little bit here to get Ibuka. Right there. Very interesting. Very interesting, Pinky. Tampa Bay sitting at 19. We need to shore up the defensive side. We like what we've got offensively. We like Baker. We like our wide receiving core. We're getting older, but we're okay still next year. Offensive line could use a little help. But we're going to make a goddamn splash. We're going to piss the Broncos the hell off, and we're going to Amari and Hampton. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That would be awful.
Okay.
Don't want the Broncos to do that either. I'm just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that Shamar Stewart is sitting here at 19 when many people think he could be a top 10 pick, you put him on the same line as Vita Vea and the linebackers that they've got behind him, and you could see some fireworks on that defensive side of the ball from Tampa Bay next year, reminiscent of some of the things they've had in the past. They are stoked. I am stoked as the GM. Shamar Stewart, come on down and let's see if that potential can truly shine.
Boom. Pinky, we've waited all year for this. Who are the Broncos going for?
I hope it's not what everybody thinks they're going to do right now because it is making me sick.
To be honest, Caleb is not an Omarion Hampton guy. He is
gathering this very
Caleb
quickly.
Johnson, Trevion Henderson, Quishon Judkins guy, and I respect that. Omarion Hampton to me is not the big play threat that I want. So I'm looking in the 2nd and 3rd round for my running back. But I cannot pass on Colston Loveland. I just can't do it. If Derek Harmon was here, I would pick Derek Harmon. But he went off the board earlier. Because I feel like I can still get a running back and a tight end later. I can't get another Derek Harmon. I can get some other good defensive tackles. They're solid guys, but I can't get another Derek Harmon. He would be the pick here if he was still on the board. He's not. Colston Loveland, he can learn. He doesn't have to be amazing year 1 and 2. We've got Evan Ingram. He can learn and grow. And Colston Loveland is another, like a lot of people have Colston Loveland as the best tight end in the draft overall. They have Tyler Warren as like one of the best playmakers in the draft. They have Colston Loveland as one of the best tight ends. If we can get it, like we've been so bad at tight end for so long, I would literally like, again, if we get one of the guys I really want, I would probably do a live video in Green Bay and cry. Like tears of joy.
Pinky, while we're on it now, I was saving this for our true final mock draft, and as my send off for you to Green Bay, at this point in time, my hope for the Broncos is Henderson in the first round and Fannin in the second. To me, those are two studs that can just ball out and help the offense on an insane amount of different levels. I think people are forgetting how good Travion Henderson is because he shared a backfield with Judkins last year. I think people are forgetting that he was projected to be the best running back in the draft 2 years ago. I think he's an absolute stud. I do think he's better than Hampton. I've said that all year. This is nothing new, and it's not a knock on Hampton. It's just based on what I saw. I don't think I'm confused on where these analysts are all of a sudden jumping him into Genty territory when I've been talking all year that the two dudes out of Ohio State and possibly Iowa are already on that level.
Well, what I see differently than a lot, and I would agree with you, I have Henderson ranked above Hampton, is I see the big play ability of Henderson. Multiple times, you get the ball in his hands and he takes it to the house. That's what I want. And Sean Payton does running back by committee anyways. Doesn't matter how good you are, he still does running back by committee. So why not get a guy that if you get the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays. So again, at 20, I don't know if I see that. I do feel like the Broncos are a good trade candidate to move back. But also, in this case, Henderson, there's two teams on the back end that like Henderson. The Chiefs like Henderson. I would hate that a lot. And then there's another team on the back end that likes Henderson a lot as well.
I don't think Henderson or Judkins makes it back to the Broncos in the second round. So if you like one of those guys, you need to take them now. If you like Omari and Hampton more, good for you. It's not my cup of tea. I am very uncertain on Loveland. I like a lot of things and I don't like a lot of things. And I'm having a hard time deciding if he's worth the 20th pick or if I would rather see a Burden or a Henderson here.
I'm going to be honest. I'd love any of them. I'd be happy with any of them. Give me Burden. Give me Henderson. Give me Loveland. The one thing about Loveland is I feel like there's a good drop off between Warren and Loveland to the next tight end, and I still feel like there's enough running backs that I would still be happy if we get a guy, Judkins, Brashad Smith from SMU. I like Devin Neal from Kansas. Like we can get him in the 4th or 5th round. Like I like that guy too. So again, it's based on the value. If you can't get a guy of similar talent elsewhere, you grab that guy now, and then again we can get running backs, we can get defensive tackles.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because there are a few teams that want running backs, Broncos being one of them. And those top 5 guys, in my mind, when you're talking Genty, Hampton, Judkins, Henderson, and Johnson, I think those top 5 guys at this point, honestly, are going to be gone before the Broncos pick in the second round. Maybe one of them's left. And that would probably be Caleb Johnson, which I wouldn't be mad if they were able to grab him in the second. But I think the board's starting to shape up to where those running backs are going to go a little bit earlier than originally anticipated. And that could leave the Broncos in an interesting position if they take the tight end in the first and then they turn around hoping for one of those running backs in the second and they're not there. Now, the beauty of that is this draft class with running backs is so deep that you still have guys like Neal and Scatabo and a few others available. But then you probably need to play the trade game and trade back into the bottom of the second round, early first, to try and grab one and reach a little bit maybe from where they're projected to make sure you don't miss out again. And that's not just going to be the Broncos. That's going to be a handful of teams that are wanting that running back position to be filled in this draft. So that second round is going to get real interesting real quick, I think, because of that. I also will not be surprised if you get 3 running backs in the first. Genty, Hampton, Henderson. I wouldn't be surprised if Hampton fell out of the first round and both of the Ohio State guys went. There are some ties there, like Pinky talked about with the Raiders and Chip Kelly. What was the other tie? Ben Johnson and the Bears with the way he's used the 2 running backs in the past. Getting a guy like Judkins or something to pair with Roschon Johnson or DeAndre Swift would be ideal for them if the Bears decide to trade back or take somebody else at 10 and trade back into the first round. There are going to be some movement for these running backs, I think. So sitting and waiting could be detrimental. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. By all accounts, Colston is going to be a stud. He can block. He can run routes. He didn't catch a lot of balls at Michigan, but not a lot of people did, right? So we'll have to wait and see. I would not be mad at the pick, Pinky. I think right now I'm indifferent to Loveland, and maybe that's even worse than liking or disliking the pick. And I've redone my evaluation on him, and I'm stuck in a gray area right now, and I'm trying to get out of it. So that's where that comes from. I'm just, maybe it's because I can't decide who's better, Fannin or Loveland right now, and maybe that's where my indecision is coming from. So we'll see.
Well, for those of you out there, we're big Broncos guys, so that's why we spent the last 10 minutes on this. So continuing on with the draft.
It's not the only reason. It ties into everybody. Like we said, running backs are going to go, and that is going to be key for the bottom half of this first round.
So, so now to the Steelers. Who do you think they're going with now, Caleb?
Josh Simmons. And I don't think it would be much of a decision if the board fell this way. This offensive line has struggled. We put pieces into it. It hasn't quite gone the way we had hoped it to. God only knows what we're doing at our quarterback position, but we can probably figure that out in rounds 2 or 3 if we need to throw a dart at somebody. What we do need, though, is whoever's back there we need to protect, and we need to be able to open lanes for our running game. We haven't done a good job of that over the last couple of years. And Josh Simmons is, I believe, a great tackle coming out of Ohio State. Our tackles right now haven't played great. If we need to move them into the guard, we will. If Josh Simmons needs to start at guard and we move him out, we will. We will do whatever it takes, but we want to start putting talent on that offensive line. And if our offense doesn't start moving the ball, we are guaranteed to lose TJ Watt. TJ will handle the defense on his own. We understand that. We know he would like some guys around him, but we also know he understands the game, and if we can't score, we don't win. And if we can't protect our quarterback, we're not going to score. So we're going to start at the base levels all over again in Pittsburgh because the quarterbacks already went, and there's nobody to take a chance on here. So we're going to go solid and shore up that inside interior.
All right. 22, the Chargers. Who we going with?
Man, they've got a lot of options here. Everybody wants a running back, but they did sign Najee Harris, and I do think that is because they know that he's got some gas in the tank. So I would like Jahadae Barron here, a corner. They play in the AFC West. They've got to deal with, the Broncos, the Chiefs. Their cornerback play has not been amazing. So I think Jahadae Barron would be a good addition. They still have a couple holes in different places. I do think this would be one of the best options for them.
All right, so we are down into the final 10. Caleb, number 23, Green Bay Packers. They select.
We as Packers are debating many different scenarios right now. Last year was a bit of a disappointment. Did not go the way that the expectations had built up to, given the way the previous season had ended. We feel like we've got 1,000 receivers who are all really good, and we also have no receivers. We've got a running back. We've got a great tight end. Our offensive line is always pretty solid. Don't feel like we need to go in the first round there. What worries us is the fact that our defense is so inconsistent. It can look like the best defense in the league one week and the worst defense in the league the next week. We've got talent. We can't figure out what the inconsistency comes from. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we need that pressure in the middle a little bit more. We need to force the other team's offensive line to recognize that we have some guys that have to be accounted for. And I do believe there's one guy here on the board right now who could fill that and possibly might be better than Harmon. But I think is a little bit more of a wild card than Harmon in where his floor and ceiling could be. But I'm going to take that shot, and I'm going to go with Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. And I'm going to see if what we see as potential can be developed into that potential and truly be one of the great D tackles in the league.
Now takes us to the Vikings, who are in a very interesting situation themselves.
Man, the Vikings are in an interesting situation themselves. And I do think they want to continue on the defensive side. There's a couple defensive players here. And I feel like they'd be happy with any of these guys. But I think Mikael Williams, pass rusher, has a lot of potential. Played hurt quite a bit this season. They actually say there's some guys that say he could be the best pass rusher in this draft, above Abdul Carter. I feel like the Vikings, for me, pass rusher or safety would be the two picks here. Pass rusher has the higher value, so you go with the pass rusher. Mikael Williams would be a pretty good fit there in Minnesota.
I like that, Pinky. I like that. Shoring up an already really good defense. You know you've got the offensive weapons. J.J. McCarthy can be the truth like you hope. You put another defensive piece out there that can get the ball back to him. That's scary. That's scary. We at Houston have decided that we do believe we have a quarterback of the future. We do believe there was a giant regression last year, and we do believe it was our fault because we didn't protect him. We're not going to make that mistake again. He has pieces around him. We've drafted a ton on defense to where we have so many young studs, we're not sure how they're all going to play at the same time. Let's go and get one of those wood chop and axe, backwoods, cold as hell type of dudes who you just think is going to be a man's man, right? Give me that North Dakota boy. Give me that Gray Zabel. Let's put him in the middle of that line, and let's see what he can do to shore up that pass protection for Mr. C.J. Stroud. Pinky, any worries coming from that small school there?
No, not at all. Not at all. North Dakota State's produced some guys that have played pretty well in the league. Most people have him rated fairly highly, so I have no concerns about that.
So now the the Rams.
So that was an LA team, Robert. At least you had that right.
Hey, my dad.
You didn't say
would shoot
San
me-
Diego.
My dad
ahead,
would
guy.
shoot me where I stand right now, so we're just gonna move on here.
Oh man, the Rams still have a couple pieces on defense they need. They do have some pieces on offense, I believe. Everybody likes Jackson Dart here. I don't know. I just don't know if I like that.
What a waste of a pick that would be. Just
I think
Stetson Bennett was a waste of a pick.
I think Caleb might like this one. He might like this one. So Cooper Kupp is gone. Puka Nacua is awesome, but he might need a running mate. So let's go ahead and drop Luther Burden into LA.
Son. Ooh, wee. Yeah, Pinky, that's a steal right there for the Rams, if you're asking me. That's quality. That's quality. You're putting what I believe is another true one next to a true one with Matt Stafford and McVay in that offense. Dangerous. Dangerous. And they proved last year that their defense came on strong that second half of the season with the rookies and second-year guys that they have. Add another weapon. I like that, Pinky.
Yeah, that whole D-line was solid last year.
I like that. That's a nasty pick right there, good sir. Cheers.
So now that brings us to the Ravens, Caleb. What are they going to finally do and maybe somehow, remember that they actually are contenders and going to play football?
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So who are we going with?
Well, we've got two options here. There's another D tackle out of Michigan that we think could be pretty good still. Maybe just as good as the guy that went earlier. But there's also an edge rusher sitting here. And we've been lacking pressure on the quarterback a little bit. There are still some D tackles, I believe, in the back half of this draft that are just as good as the front half, just played at schools that didn't get the same recognition that you can find. There's a dude on this board, though, that many had, at the start of draft season as possible top 10. There were people talking about him as maybe the best pure rusher in the draft at one point. Now, obviously, as things go on, people's opinions change. We start changing our story and our evaluations and our grades. My grade hasn't changed a whole lot on this guy. He gets after the ball. He played in an SEC school. And he's got some experience that we can bring in right away and add to our defense to bring the pressure we've been looking for. James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, come on down to Baltimore, baby. Let's roll. We're ready to go.
That's a Raven pick. That is definitely a Raven pick.
Beautiful. So now we are in the final 5 selections. Who are the Detroit Lions going with? And God hope they get to a Super Bowl this year.
Robert, do you want to take the pick here? I know you love the Lions and the Broncos. You want to take this pick?
I'm still learning this side of it from a bit, but from my view looking in, the Lions themselves, we're getting some pretty big weapons back. My boy Hutch is looking good, starting to look really strong with his recovery. I know they were basically running their 5th string defense by the end. So I would say they could go with an edge rusher. I also really think that kind of going back to what Caleb's been talking about, I really think that the Lions could maybe beef up the O-line just a little bit. And really protect the main man, our Ken, Ryan Gosling himself. I'm just kidding. That really is kind of my thought process, is either an edge or an O-lineman. I feel like on a lot of the other pieces, they're doing okay. Defense, I think, is a main focus, but I would really go venture to say either be Scorton or Eamon Worry from South Carolina to really help that defense out. Those would be my 2 picks, but I don't know enough to really say between the 2, so I'm gonna phone a friend and reach out to my fellas. So between those, where would you kind of end up on that?
I feel like here, I do think defense would be important, and I feel like Nick Imanwari with Branch would be pretty damn amazing. That would be pretty awesome. There's a lot of folks that like Imanwari over Starks over Imanwari, but they're the 2 highest rated safeties. I don't think there's any real conversation there. So I do think that would be a solid pick for Detroit.
Caleb, thoughts to that?
I personally would go Campbell here. Jahad Campbell is a potential true middle linebacker. He's side to sideline. You put him one level behind Hutch, and I think that can be a lot more beneficial to the back end of the defense than adding another safety or cornerback at this point in time. And that's only because I think Campbell, potential-wise, and where he's at right now, I think is on a higher level than the safeties and corners sitting here still.
You're right, Caleb. I forgot. They've got Kirby Joseph, too. So, yeah. Jahad Campbell's probably, to match him up with Jack Campbell, that's probably a pretty good 1-2 punch.
All right. I love it. I like it. Glad that we are at least on the same page with the defense thing, so that's always a win. I'm learning slowly, but it's happening. So now, the Washington Redskins. Yes, I said that correctly.
He did, ladies and gentlemen. He did.
Respect.
Just gonna put that out there. It is the Redskins on this podcast and will forever be. Caleb, who are the Redskins selecting for the 29th pick of 2025?
Binky, I think this is going to be the first big wrench in the game plan. Granted, it's at the very end of the first round. Washington could go a lot of different directions here, but at this point in time, I don't feel like there's any true necessarily difference makers that can fill the holes they have. to up any one person's game overall. I think come second, third rounds, you can start filling some of those holes to protect some of those positions. But I think TreVeyon Henderson is a stud. And I think you put him in that offense and you let Brian Robinson Jr. be more of the rock against the waves kind of thing. And you let TreVeyon Henderson be more of the arrow slicing through, if you will. Kind of the Sonic and Knuckles idea that Detroit's going with right now. I think you could very easily do with Henderson and Robinson in the Washington backfield. And you add a weapon like that to Jaden Daniels and that offense. You don't necessarily have to look at shoring up and reaching for the offensive line right now. You don't have to go and look at the defense and possibly reach somewhere there where you need defensive line help. Yeah, you could use the back end too, but I'm not sold on any of these guys. I think TreVeyon Henderson is just as good as Genty. And with that being said, it's hard for me to pass up on that kind of offensive weapon to add to a team that I believe struggled at times on offense last year because they didn't have that explosive person out of the backfield. Robinson is going to grind you out. He's going to get you some yards, but he's never going to break off that insane play, in my opinion. You get somebody who can grind and break off the play, and you can run a two-headed beast in the backfield. We've seen how dangerous that can be in the NFL these days. I think it's a reach worth taking right now for Washington.
They're going with Hampton. I just want to make sure.
Nope, TreVeyon Henderson.
Oh, did I miss him? Oh, there he is. I did miss him. Cool. Bam. So the Bills then, who still can't find a Super Bowl to save their life.
Oh, Pinky, what are you going to do to help your poor fan base out?
I mean, they need a lot of everything on the defense for sure.
Which is crazy because it's not a bad defense.
It's not a bad defense,
They
but
just
I
need
don't
to go from here to here, right? Like
I
that's
just
kind
don't
of
feel
what
like
they need.
they don't have any like elite players. Matt Milano's always hurt. Ed Oliver kind of shrinks in big moments. They don't really have like their pass rushers aren't awful, but they're not great either. Oh God, what's on the board here?
Do I need to zoom in for you, old man?
Hold on. I got this.
No,
So
I'm pretty sure you could have gotten your glasses and things by now.
It's packed. I told you. Give him Imamori because homeboy that died is not getting the job done at safety, and the fact that he has to play from time to time, it just doesn't work.
Homeboy that died.
Wow. Okay.
Hamlin.
We went there.
Damar
folks.
Hamlin would be the name he's looking for, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
You draw a little bit of a blank, but he got us to where we needed to be.
It took us a minute. We aged a little bit, but we got there.
Okay. I don't hate that thought process, Pinky. I do not hate that process.
I mean, there's Kenneth Grant still there. I know Tyleek Williams from Ohio State is getting some love lately. So there's those guys are options as well. But their back end of that defense is actually really not good at all.
You're right.
And so yeah, Imamori would be very helpful. And Hamlin, he's not a starter, but he's had to play based on injuries the last 2 seasons, and that's just not good. So
And look, I mean, to his credit, he didn't play like trash. He just showed that he's your third or fourth safety. He's your fourth or fifth nickel back kind of thing. He's a great depth piece, but not necessarily a starter.
right.
So if you can bring in a starter and then add that depth piece back to a true depth piece, that's a big get for you. So I like where you're thinking there, sir.
Excellent. Well, then, the Chiefs are not favorite team in the whole world. Shout out, Andy. We know we love you, but we don't like them. Caleb, what are we doing to continue this quote-unquote dynasty, as you've referred to it as before?
I mean, it is a dynasty.
It is a dynasty. Absolutely true.
That's not in question. The question that you're referring to is the overall idea of dominance. is where you were going with that, and
I
whether
mean,
or not
that
that
too.
is existent.
It's not.
We want to get back to the dominant side of the ball. We are really, really, really tempted to take Judkins right here. Like on levels you cannot even understand, we are tempted to take Judkins here. But we also understand that when protected, we might have the best quarterback in the NFL. And that quarterback, when protected, has shown that he doesn't necessarily need explosive weapons around him because he can elevate everybody around him and make those weapons better. Our O-line was struggling last year, no matter how many times we tried to piecemeal it together. I see a guard on the table right now out of a school that's known to produce solid linemen, and I don't feel we have to reach at this point in time to grab him. And yes, our inside line was solid, but we're going to start mixing things up a little bit more. We're going to try to get a little bit younger, and we're going to grab Tyler Booker right here. And if we have to move some other pieces around for that tackle, we'll figure it out. But the one thing we are going to make sure of is that offensive interior line is never in question again.
All right. The final first round pick of the 2025 draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. Who is going to be selected?
Well,
This pick is so interesting to me because they don't need a goddamn thing.
Like Caleb's like, it's just
Caleb?
sprinkles.
you and I both know how much Howie Roseman likes to play chess
Oh, yeah.
over checkers. And it would not be shocking if they trade out of this pick.
No, not at all.
So I
very much actually think they will because there's going to be a team like the Browns, the Giants, a few others that want to trade back in for a Jackson Dart, a Jalen Milroe at the back half of the bottom of the first round and get that fifth-year option. So I fully agree with you there, Pinky.
Yeah. So, oh man. Man, there's,
Do I need to zoom in for you again, big guy?
No. I think we can be
Splash it,
comfortable
Pinky.
in saying that again. They do like to build inside out, and I think the defensive tackle Kenneth Grant would be a guy that could be a replacement for Jordan Davis, who will be close to having to make that decision of do we pay him or do we let him walk?
I mean, I like that you're thinking that far ahead, but let's just talk immediate. Who just retired?
I mean, Brandon Graham just retired.
So it's a legit hole. Like, I mean, it's a position that they need to fill. Whether it's a need per se on the team or not, you're adding a position that they need with a true talent. That's ridiculous.
And they let Milton Williams leave, who actually really played really well for them. And he got a gigantic contract. Like, good on him. He got the Patriots opened up that checkbook and gave him all the money. So I believe him or the corner Trey Amos from Ole Miss were the two guys I was considering here. I just feel like Kenneth Grant is another huge run stuffer. You can pretty much play him next to Carter. You can rotate Davis. Davis is tired, put Grant in. Grant's tired, put Davis back in. Like, you can just keep that rotation going. And then if Davis doesn't continue to improve, you go ahead and let him walk and get that money elsewhere, and you've already got Grant behind him. That's what Eagles have been pretty good about, of having guys a little early before they need them.
All right, so Kenneth Grant to the Eagles, and that will close out the first round of 2025 NFL Draft.
It'll be a steal. Eagles stealing things again.
Again, Eagles will probably trade out.
Yeah, I think It would not surprise me to see those bottom 5 or 6 teams try to trade out of the first round and move back and acquire picks.
I mean, in this draft, if Omarion Hampton was still there at 32, you could see teams move back in for him at 32, not just the quarterback. Because now you're getting, if you get a running back on a 5-year option, you run him in the ground for those 5 years and then you let him walk. Like that's pretty good business.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't think there's going to be a lot of gray area with this draft. I think it's either going to be like chalky with maybe a trade or two, or we're going to see a whole lot of movement like a couple years ago where there was just chaos all the time, and it's going to be completely unexpected.
I'm excited.
But I could see a scenario where those bottom 5 or 6 teams, while they may want to trade out of the first round, can't find a dance partner to do it. Because the cost reward of making that trade and losing other picks and stuff, when you think those guys could be sliding into the second for you anyways, or there's multiple guys in the second that you like, so you don't necessarily have to go up and get somebody, is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. And these running backs, I think, are going to be a catalyst for that, possibly. And I do think Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe are going to be major talking points in the second half of this first round. Look, call me crazy. That's fine. Nothing new. I'm all good with it. At one point last season, after the Georgia win, I went to eat a lot of crow. And I talked some high praise on Alabama and Jalen Milroe.
That you did.
I don't know what happened in his development, but he definitely took a step back in the second half of the season. But the potential I see from that young man is Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts-esque. And it will depend on what situation he goes to on whether or not we see that potential get a chance to shine. And this is going to sound even crazier, but I think Cleveland is one of those possibilities where we could see that potential shine. I think they have a great head coach, and his former offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach, I can't remember exactly which, from Alabama, Tommy Rees, is now with Cleveland. So there's a level of familiarity there now as well. Cleveland's known to botch talent, though, right? They don't put the right pieces around them. They sign them at the wrong times, so on and so forth, whatever it might be. But given the coaching staff there, I could see that as being a potential great landing spot for him.
I don't know, man. I think the Browns would be better suited. Go ahead and play Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. Lose those games and dip into that quarterback market next year.
There you go. All right. Final thoughts and to wrap it up. Pinky, Caleb. Pinky first.
I mean, guys, I'm excited. I'm going to be out in the crowd. Going to try to do some live videos this year while I'm there. And so our Facebook, we have a great Facebook community. A lot of football fans. I want to be able to provide some content while I'm there. So I'm going to try to throw some live videos up. If anybody listening to this has some requests of what they want, let me know. I'll try to do a good job of getting it up there. We will be VIP Saturday, so we'll be inside the draft theater. We've got a close-up of everything. I'm definitely doing some lives on Saturday. Believe that. Saturday's a blast. But I will be out there in the crowd in the first round as well.
Awesome.
We expect some great content from Pinky, live videos, some just reaction videos of what he felt from the crowd after certain picks and things of that nature. If we see any crazy surprises, Pinky can, give us a video and throw it up as well. So it's fun to have him there. It's fun to be able to talk with him and FaceTime with him and all that good stuff while things are going on, because you get a sense of what the crowd feels like or the atmosphere from the fan base and things of that nature. So him going the last, what is this, your 5th year in a row now?
This is the 5th one in a row. Yep.
5th year in a row now. So doing it the last 4 years has been a lot of fun to be able to talk with him and have somebody at the draft and get the live feeling as it's going down while I'm sitting on my couch. So that's always been great.
2026, baby. I'll be there.
So, look, I think my final thought is going to be this. If after the Nico Collins fiasco in Dallas, Nico Collins, just ignore me tonight, guys.
Just say Nico. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
I'm not sure why Collins came out with that. Anyways.
Brain fart. Too many sports.
What Nico is doing down in Dallas and what we've seen from other GMs across sports over the years, if you're going to be one of those people who comes at someone and says, you're just a couch GM, you don't know what you're talking about, I think it's well been proven now that the guys with the job don't know what they're doing either. Now, there are some really good ones out there, but there are some really bad ones. And if you can't see that yet, shame on you. And I will say it time and time again, I don't care what anybody thinks. I feel like there's been plenty of opportunities where I could have done a far better job putting the team together for basketball or football than what some of these other teams have done. NFL draft evaluators, talent evaluators, and the people who are supposed to be then developing that talent once they get to the team. There's a whole lot of them that shouldn't have their jobs either because they're absolute trash at it. So this is where I'm going. If you are talking with people on draft day, if you are evaluating talent, if you are in a conversation with someone and you don't agree, if they give you a reason for why and they have stats or facts or something of that nature to back it up, respect the take and walk away, agree to disagree. But don't go out on there and being like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's why you're not the GM and that's why you're sitting on your, like, I'm so tired of that BS argument after what we've seen over the last couple of years. Shut it and walk away. Because if you say that to me, you're not going to like where the conversation goes. I assure you. Okay? So just know that the people that have the jobs, just because they have them, doesn't mean they're good at it or know what they're doing.
A lot of final.
On that note, enjoy the draft. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to cause conversation. It's meant to have disagreement. And walk away and wait and see who's right and wrong. And then a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you're wrong, eat your crow. Walk up, say, I was wrong, bad evaluation, I'm going to try again. If you were right, bask in the sun for a little bit. Raise your hand and let people know you might have had a good take. Don't shy away from people knowing you know what you're doing, okay? Let them know. On that note, we appreciate everyone. We can't thank you enough for following, liking, subscribing, sharing, whatever you do to support us. Please continue. We love it. Take those moments with your family, friends, loved ones. Cherish them. Do not take them for granted. Do what Pinky's doing. Take a group. Go somewhere. Have a good time. Do something you love and enjoy. Experience things together. Fellas, I appreciate you. Everyone else out there, Thursday comes quickly. We're out. Peace.